Today's AskReddit post. What's a messed up job that many people don't want or may not even know of? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. My brother is a last responder. He brings bodies to the medical examiner/funeral homes. Some of the stories he tells make me wonder how that poor kid sleeps at night. A friend of my dad was a last responder to a horrid car accident involving children and she's never been the same since. God, that sucks. I work in a chemical preservation plant in an industrial estate. Right next door is a state-run industrial laundry that services several regional hospitals. 2 to 3 semi-loads of laundry in and 2 to 3 semi-loads out every day. They employ 2 women to go through all the laundry as it comes in, to check for removed limbs, fecal matter, jewelry, etc. Not too many days they don't find something. They have to check the laundry because it could clog/damage the machines. Those guys in India that clean sewer clogs by diving into the sewers with zero protective gear and wearing nothing but shorts. I don't think they live very long. That's like the divers going to plug the leak at Chernobyl knowing it's a suicide mission from the get-go. Is there actually anything dangerous in sewage besides some bacteria that you can presumably not get sick from if you wash up and don't let it get in your mouth, and general grossness/smelliness? It's not like there's radiation or anything, right? The special agents that review horrific footage of child abuse, CP and other nasty stuff, so they can testify in court to put the criminal away. In the same vein, special agent internet ops for just about anything. NPR had an interview with a couple of people who had to try and infiltrate terrorist cells, and while they didn't go into detail, they said it was nightmare fuel. There are companies that specialize in cleaning up horrific crime scenes, legally, that is. They're hired after law enforcement has investigated. In a similar vein, hazmat response teams. Not exactly a pleasant job, but there's really good money in it. I did that. It was not good money. I knew a girl who finished her degree in animal sciences and had 2 job offers. One was working with primates at a wildlife refuge. The other was working for the state euthanizing animals. The second job was $1 more an hour. She took that one. Collecting samples for breeders, as in livestock, basically help the horses and bulls to later use for in vitro. In my experience, the people who beat off horses professionally are as weird as one would expect. How that has not been my experience. Most of the folks I know who do it are just normal farming folks, nothing out of the ordinary. Hell, we even did this in college when I was getting my ag degree. I read about a job a while ago. I think it had something to do with approving or denying inappropriate claims on social media sites. The things normal people would have to see and look at were utterly disgusting and heartbreaking, and they weren't given any preparation for it. I spent a lot of years cutting out the corneas of deceased human donors for transplant. I literally spent years of my life cutting out dead people's eyes for a living. But it's for a really good cause. I ended up getting one of those at 3 years of age. Gave me colors where I just had light and dark before. Never made me able to pass for sighted though, and I'm not allowed to donate blood because of having received it. In Japan, there is so much loneliness amongst the population that there are companies that let you hire a fake family or a fake spouse for a day. Even rent a girlfriend/boyfriend. I don't think it's exactly the same. But there are professional cuddlers too. They're hired to give hugs and cuddles. No intercourse or kissing involved. I read an article from a professional cuddler years ago. She said that most of her clientele were divorcees or widowers. One guy couldn't sleep alone after his wife passed away, so she was literally paid to lay next to him in bed every night while the poor guy cried himself to sleep. Heartbreaking. Not really messed up, but overlooked. Septic pumping. An old neighbor of mine was a picture hanging specialist contracted by many museums. He made $75k a year at the time, about $150k adjusted for inflation. Aka, an art handler. I live in New York City and have met many artists who earn a living as an art handler. Companies that mass clean hospital/hotel linens. Very dangerous job. Dangerous how? Read Stephen King's short story ***** Mangler. ****. Chasing pigeons from the runway at airports. I used to know a guy who sat in a truck at the end of runways while his border collie chased away the geese. I don't know what I did wrong in life that I didn't get that most awesome job. The happiest dog in the country. At some beef slaughterhouses there is a guy that shoots cows in the head with a pneumatic gun all day as they come to him on a big ass conveyor. I worked at one and the guy that did it there was killing over 2,000 cows a day. 5 days a week. 5 days of vacation a year. Just watched No Country for Old Men. And up until then would have had no idea what you were really talking about. Honestly, I haven't seen that before, so I don't know what that means lol. Work in a hospital. I saw the same lady with the same rolling luggage a number of times over the years and thought it was kind of weird. Turns out she was the one who took the newborns who didn't survive to funeral homes/morgues. Now anytime I see rolling luggage at work I wonder if there is a fetus in there. I guess there are worse answers to the question here. Like working on crime scenes or watch through child porn. But somehow your answer hit me the hardest. My husband does pest control. It is extremely grueling work. Most people do not last. They run him ragged during the on-season. I feel like most people don't realize how hard it is. I did a project years ago for a guy. The project we built was this weird little building with a giant oven in it. He cremated all the animals that got put to sleep at local shelters and vets. That reminds me of a rural section of cross streets near me with a bunch of signs on one of the fences. The biggest sign there just says horse cremation, XXX, 555, 5555. I just wanna know how you end up there, you know? I do hospital removals of the deceased, home removals, transport for the medical examiner's office, organ donation, to and from the airport, transports of all kinds. Even supply anatomical donated cadavers to numerous universities and many are long distance out of state, and I have to physically move these individuals myself in most cases, so I see lots of stuff that most people cannot handle. I admit that it does have an effect on my psyche though cause you can't unsee the horrible things that we encounter, and there's a very high turnover in staff but somebody has to do it. It's one of those things that people don't want to acknowledge, even though it's our reality. We will all one day be laying on that cold steel cooling table awaiting transport to our final destination, and I can only hope that someone like myself that will give me the dignity that I deserve when that time comes, just like I do for those who go before me. I'm a greensperson in the film industry. I'm responsible for building and maintaining the plants and trees on a set. I thought you were about to say you're one of those dudes in green morph suits on green screen sets lol. Those that worked for that company that recently found out that their AI product was just a bunch of cheap labor bought in India I believe. Their job was being an AI Amazon for their pick it up and leave store. I think there were a couple actually. I don't claim to know/remember all of them. I work with developmentally disabled adults, and one of my old companies had two sides of the program, SL, supported living, and CP, community protection. The community protection clients are typically developmentally disabled pedophiles who have offended, but have been deemed mentally unfit for prison. So through our program they get to live in a house, and go out, and participate in the community. There are strict rigid rules of course, enforced by staff making barely above minimum wage lol. My dad was a master flavorist. He made artificial flavors for candy, beverages and lots of other things. He made a lot of money during his career. Very random. How does one find themselves in such a role I wonder? My dad works at a wastewater treatment plant. Last week he got covered in raw sewage up to his neck. Cardiovascular perfusionist. Can't have open heart surgery without us. But almost no one knows we exist. What does this entail? Your blood is pumped into a machine that oxygenates your blood and puts it back into your system. so you can stay alive while your heart has stopped. Perfusionists do much more than that, but that's a very layman way to explain it. I don't know if this qualifies as messed up, but I worked on cell phone towers for 6 years. Most people are scared of heights and it's very physically demanding. Most people are too scared to do it and don't think about it. However, without these hard-working people, none of our phones would work. I don't mind the height or the hard work. It's the idea of doing it in the winter when I can't feel my hands. I mean, I hate the cold on a normal day, so props to people like you who brave the weather to get the job done. I worked on a turkey farm. There were kill days and cut days. On kill days you were covered in blood and poop. New people would come in, look around, and walk back out. Didn't bother me. Wow. Farms in Turkey sound very impractical, but alright. I used to work for an audiologist. I did all the jobs he didn't want to do. I trimmed the hair from men's ears so that hearing aids would fit snugly again. I took apart hearing aids and cleaned wax, dead skin and bugs out of them. I cleaned and sanitized the ears before he started an exam. Crime scene remediation. My brother-in-law is a commercial diver. Urchins, sea cucumber, gooey ducks, that kind of thing. Occasionally the city where he lives hires him to dive in the poop pits at the sept plants. It's dry suits, full face masks, and you can't see much more than a foot in front of you. Huge money, and throws the suit away after it's done. He says there is a lot of corn down there. Septic tank cleaner. They have these large augers to go in and loosen up years worth of semi-viscous poop. They then need to pump the poop into a tank and also ensure all the pipes are clear. A family friend works for the military as someone who identifies bodies. As in, if a group of soldiers gets blown up or something, all the salvageable body parts get boxed up and sent to her, and she matches the hands to arms to torsos etc. to make sure each individual can be properly sent home for burial or cremation. The janitor who has to clean the video booths in the intercourse shops in Times Square. Slippery Tim? He loves that job. Crime scene cleaning. A lot of people don't realize when someone dies in a messy way, yeah, someone has to clean that, and it's a private company. The cops will normally hand out the business card for those businesses. Good money, but ooh. Potty jockey. The guys that pick up, clean, and deliver portable outhouses. Sexing chicks on an egg farm. The males get tossed out and are chopped up. Spontaneous fragmentation. It's a wood chipper. I know 2 people who work at funeral homes, and part of their job is to retrieve the bodies. They both have PTSD and some pretty messed up stories. Really sucks when their eyes don't stay shut. People who remove asbestos for a living. You work long hours in hot, cramped environments surrounded by airborne microscopic glass. This area of the asbestos abatement industry is dominated by immigrants because no one else wants to do it. They deserve to be paid more. For non-Americans, medical debt collectors. Also medical insurance adjusters whose job it is to prevent payouts. Scum of the earth they are. In ancient times, there were poop collectors in the streets that were selling the goods to leather craftsmen to treat the leather. In parts of the US there is an old expression about being so poor that you didn't even have a pot to piss in. I read once that the expression arose because rural people living in extreme poverty would often save buckets of urine and sell them to leather craftsmen who would use it to tan hides into leather. I didn't know that could be done, but truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. That's also where the term piss poor comes from. If you were so poor you had to sell your piss. Working in the sports industry, the demand is insane, so it's hard to get in. Most careers start with multiple unpaid internships for experience. If you can find a full-time job, you're likely to have to move to another city where you'll make $32,000 and work for 60 to 70 hours a week. By your late 20s you might be making $50,000 and still working those hours. On top of that, Workplace culture is usually pretty toxic and everyone is seen as replaceable. Don't like the hours? Somebody else will. Don't like the pay? Somebody else will. People on the outside, namely sports fans, always think you're working the dream job. But really people in sports all just made a poor decision in their early 20s and were too stubborn to ever let go. Chicken catcher, manual, by hand, no equipment. It's a fast-paced, extremely physically demanding job, more so than most construction jobs. And it can be very dangerous with forklifts dropping large cages right next to you in dark conditions. It's dirty, nasty, filthy job. And birds will defecate on you while fighting you. So, bird wrestling. Coroner. Every county in the US has at least one. And some cities have one or two. Or a few dozen. What's most messed up about it to me, that most people don't know, is that in many areas there is no educational or certification requirements to be coroner. Some are appointed, and some are elected. So in many areas you could decide, being coroner sounds pretty cool despite that you have zero medical education. Run for it, and get elected, if you run a good campaign. Because who really looks into the educational background of the people on the ballot? Or maybe you get real lucky, and you run unopposed, as does happen, and you just get the job. My Mill's current husband was a not very good country doctor in the 1960s and became a medical examiner just because no other local doctor wanted to do it. He had no forensic training at all. My sister had a friend who works in the government. His job is to try and infiltrate fertilizer plants and get to the main control computer. If he makes it all the way to it and it's able to do something that will explode the plant or at least start something that might make it explode, he will stop everything just shy of doing it. Then he informs the plant supervisors and security that they just ducked up really bad. He has succeeded in dozens of plants. Just goes to show how easily an attack could be. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Mortuary transpo. You pick up recently deceased from homes, hospice, hospital, other funeral homes / mortuary. Our drivers handle anywhere from 12 plus bodies in a shift. Also not everyone fits in a disaster pouch. I had a client who does this. He said a surprising amount of people die on the toilet. A lot of bathroom removals. It's a tight space. Thank God for exhaust fans. There's a boat that floats on pig poop. You have to row through the poop to speed up the process of aerating. Officially a poop-tea job, and someone has to do it. I sometimes wonder about the people who investigate crimes against children, particularly things like CSAM. Someone's gotta watch it to make sure it's CSAM, right? I can't imagine that's an easy job. I volunteered one time at a Crimes Against Children multi-day conference. They are a special breed and most seem to believe their work is a calling, not just a job, and they partied hard every night. I don't even know the name for this, but a friend takes care of rich people cars for living. Pick up the car for maintenance. Takes the car from A to B, etc. He doesn't actually work on the cars, just works for rich people that don't have time to take care of the car, is super well paid, is on first name basis with some of the richest people on the country. Apparently isn't easy to find trustworthy people to take care of your cars, plus access to your properties and so on. I think you misunderstood the question. Who wouldn't want a job like that? Sounds easy, fun and well paid. People at the pound who put down unwanted and unclaimed animals all day, every day. I would kill myself. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.